All right, we're going to move on and do a little exercise and look back at the year of 2022, 2024 so far and talk about what we think are the best movies of 2024 so far. Conventional wisdom would say, hey guys, you should probably do this at the top of July because that's like the halfway point. You would be correct, but I forgot and things just happened. And so why not just go ahead and still do it before we get too deep into the fall movie season, which is going to be coming up. We're going to talk a lot about fall movies in a few weeks here and sort of preview some of the things we're excited about and looking forward to. But before we get there, I think it's important to kind of stop and take stock and just assess what we've gotten so far in the year of 2024 because a lot has come out. We are coming off of the heels of a really, really huge summer in terms of some of these franchise picks like Deadpool and Wolverine and Inside Out 2, which had a lot of anticipation behind them. And we're seeing how exceptionally well they're performing. But even in addition to that, there's been a lot of smaller releases. There's been some streaming titles. Many of these things we have talked about. Some of them we haven't gotten to just quite yet. But we definitely want to just spend some time and kind of just loosely talk about what we feel is the best of the best so far in 2024. Now, before we dive into it, I just want to say we're not ranking anything. We're not going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're just going to talk about our 5 picks in general. So nothing's going to be ranked, but we are going to individually pick what we think are the 5 best movies of the year so far. Probably will be some overlap, some things we haven't talked about, as I mentioned, but we will have the conversation that way. And that's really it. We're just going to, go back and forth and kind of share what we think. But before we do that, man, what do you think about so far of the year of 2024 in terms of movie? Would you say it's a good movie year or maybe sort of a mediocre movie year so far?
I think it's decent. I think it's a decent year. I think that's the best way I can put it. I think there is a lot of good for sure, but also there's just a lot of things that we've seen. I feel like that still feel like they're in that middle pile, right? If I'm thinking of, I don't know, just there's a lot of movies are like, oh, that wasn't bad, but it's not that good either. It's just an okay movie. I'm still glad I went to go see it, but that's just where it lands. In the middle of the pile. I feel like potentially though by the end of the year, the what we have so far, potentially by the end of the year, I feel like if enough movies perform well, I can say, oh, that was a good year. Like I still feel like it's not over. I can still by the end of it say, we did a good job. So that's kind of where I am right now. It's like decent. It's trending upward, I would say. Like, oh man, it's close to being a good year, but I need the fall to hit a little bit. But yeah, I have to say it's a really decent year. I think the highs are really high. And yeah, I think there's still some room to grow. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think it's very much okay to mediocre at this point for me so far. The like 2 highs that I've had, they are exceptionally high. They could be, some of the best of the best. Everything else, to be quite honest, has been like it's either been really bad. There's certainly been many, many bad movies that I've seen.
Those, yeah.
And there's just a lot of mediocre where it's like I had high hopes for this. I expected more, and it just did not deliver. I can't say I'm surprised, though. Coming into 2024, I was already very hesitant about the year. I just knew it was not going to be as exciting as I think 2023 was, just due to the breadth of filmmakers that sort of returned with new projects last year. 2023 was a pretty great year, close to great year. I don't know if I can call it great, but I think close to great. This year, I would say we're bordering on mediocre at this point.
Yeah.
Certainly with exceptions, obviously, that we'll talk about in our lists. But there's just been a lot where it's like, oh man, you just kind of missed the mark for me. And we still have like 5 months left for things to sort of turn around, things that we are aware of, that we are anticipating. But also, there's always those surprise releases that you don't hear a ton about, and then all of a sudden they come out and they kind of shock and shake up film Twitter or people on Letterboxd or whatever the case may be, people that are really tapped into just knowing what movies are going to be coming around the corner. So it's been an okay year. I assembled a list of about, 56 films here or so, and this isn't even including everything. There's certainly more, but as I go through this list, I'm like, yeah, that's not great. There's a lot of not great in here. So
Yeah.
it's slim pickings, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna have fun with this and see what it all shapes up and shapes out to be. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So yeah, let's just start, man. What's the first movie you want to talk about that you would say so far is one of the best of 2024?
Let's start with bro. I think Furiosa is one of the best movies of the year. I do. That movie is nuts. It's pretty crazy what George Miller I think was able to do with that film. Of course, it's funny because the box office says the opposite, and it definitely gave us pause. I remember at the beginning of the summer with Furiosa and Fall Guy, we were having that conversation like, is the movies okay? Like, what is happening? And also Furiosa has a crazy budget. That being said, it's a fantastic movie. The action is fantastic. The acting is really good. It follows all the lore of Mad Max. It's exactly a Mad Max movie that you would expect it to be. It looks so good. Anya Taylor-Joy. Oh my God. It's just there's a lot to love, I think, about Furiosa. And I think yeah, just looking back over the summer and what we've had is definitely not only one of the best action movies of the year, but I think it's one of the best movies of the year so far.
Furiosa is incredible. It's pretty amazing to me that for the fifth time now, this is another franchise that's able to reinvent itself, with George Miller coming back, obviously, to do this once again in his 80s, which is just astounding to me for him to
Wow.
still be making these types of movies at that age. But he wasn't interested in doing Fury Road again. I think that's what's the most impressive thing about Furiosa, which is
Mm-hmm.
also what I consider one of to be one of the best movies of the year so far. But he was not interested in doing just the same thing over and over again, which would have been easy to do. It would have been easy to rely on the goodwill of what that film did 10 years ago. But he said, no, we're going to make a different type of story, a more character focused film, probably the most character focused film since the first Mad Max. And I think that that's a
Mm-hmm.
really, really incredible thing that he was able to accomplish with obviously a supremely talented actress in Anya Taylor-Joy, who just kind of went above and beyond to portray this character and to really get us to buy into her backstory, her history, her upbringing, and her mythology within this particular universe. And then playing that opposite of Chris Hemsworth, who was just having a grand time and looks damn near unrecognizable underneath all of
Yeah.
those prosthetics. They are the perfect foils for each other. So no, Furiosa is incredible. It's definitely one of the top tier movies of the year. I feel confident that it'll more than likely crack my top 10 at the end of the year. I don't know if
Yeah, me
there's
too.
9 better movies that are going to knock it out at this point, but
We'll see.
it's certainly there for sure. And it's streaming now on Max. If you've not seen Furiosa and if you are subscribed to Max, I would highly encourage people to check it out. And you don't have to even see the other Mad Max movies to enjoy it. I think that this is something you
Mm-hmm.
can enjoy in isolation on its own, and it'll probably create new appreciation for you, as you dive into the other Mad Max movies upon seeing it. So yeah, this is also on my list. So let's keep moving. What's next on your list of what you think is the best of the year so far?
Man, so I was struggling between two movies of like a fifth and sixth spot. Or just just in general, sometimes it's like these lists, you're like, which one I'm gonna throw in here? Just because it's so different, man. I really like Late Night with the Devil. I do. That
Nice,
was
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a blast in the movie theater. Like you was right next to me, man. I was laughing. I was like, they acting like I don't know. It was just such a different kind of film. I think for me, just the late night show feel, them actually making it feel like that, making me feel like I was an audience member. David Dastmalchian doing what he does best, being weird but also a good actor at the same time. And yeah, the movie kept subverting my expectations. Again, the end kind of goes off the hinges, but it's okay because I really enjoyed my time with that film. So right now, let's put Late Night with the Devil up there, man. It's such a different movie than anything that's come out so far this year, really, than I've seen in a minute. So yeah, I really liked it.
I love that pick, man. Yeah, when we reviewed it earlier this year, that was a really fun one to talk about because I'm sure not a ton of people know about it at all. But
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those hidden gems that comes out randomly in a March, sort of drop of the year, and it's like, wow, where did this come from? This has so much energy, so much kinetic energy in the film, and it's really, really a treat because it's funny. It's also weird and
Mm-hmm.
creepy. It's suspenseful. You don't know where things are going to go, but it's obviously pulling so much from other horror films that really establish that type of tone and feel, whether it's a Poltergeist or even an
Yeah.
Exorcist. Like it's really leaning on those heavily. But Davis Dasmalchian finally getting a chance to lead a movie and be in a project of this stature was really, really cool. So I definitely have to agree. It's on Shudder if you haven't seen it. If you have Shudder, the next one that I'm going to talk about quickly, we haven't talked about this yet. And I also should mention that this is always weird when doing these lists because sometimes these movies premiere like a year ago at a film festival,
Yeah.
but they're not
Hmm.
widely distributed or released until the following year. And there's a few movies that I'll be talking about that fall into that category. So the next one is Evil Does Not Exist, which
Yeah.
technically had its premiere in 2023, but it was limited released in this year. I don't even think it's had a wide release, but it did have a limited release. But this is the latest film from director Raisuke Hamaguchi, who made Drive My Car a few years ago, which was the two-time Academy Award nominated film. He's a Japanese director, and that was certainly one of the best films of that year that came out. Got a lot of attention, a lot of critical acclaim. So I drafted this movie at the top of the summer. I definitely had to make it a point to see it when there was any availability to, and this is just a fantastic film. It's completely unexpected. There's things from Drive My Car that certainly bleed over into this movie in terms of the slower pace, the contemplative
Hmm.
nature of the characters, some of the really quiet moments when there's no dialogue and you're just sort of observing the atmosphere. There's a lot of that, but it's really intriguing stuff. This movie, without getting too much intimate or too much into it, it's ultimately about this single father living in a village that's about to be disrupted by this new real estate project, and basically what the consequences are going to be for this real estate project to the environment, to the people's homes that live there. This is obviously speaking to things that ultimately get sort of gentrified and taken over by big corporations. But while it's about that, it goes into so many unexpected directions by the end of it. And the ending is probably one of the most perplexing endings of any movie I've seen this year. In a good way. In a good way, though. I mean, I
Yeah.
certainly walked out of the theater like, yo, what the fuck just went down?
Hmm.
But as I started to think about the film and it stayed with me for days, I was like, oh my God, I see what he was trying to do there. I see what he was going for in terms of the themes. And it actually makes the title make the most sense in the world. Because the whole time I'm like, why is this movie called this? Like there's no evil in this movie. Like there's nothing
Right.
evil about this at all. By the end of it, if you really think about it, it certainly snaps into focus. So definitely, I think a standout for me so far this year.
Man, I cannot wait to watch that movie. I know it's coming to Apple TV Plus soon. I don't know what the actual day or date is, but when it is available to stream, it will be on Apple TV Plus. I know that for sure, and of course VOD as well. But yeah, man, what a good director. I can't wait to see what he continues to do. Oh man, I can't wait to watch that movie. I've been again still randomly. It's like one of my favorite posters I've seen in a long time. Like it's so beautiful to me. I can't explain it. It's just a really good looking poster. So yeah, bro, I can't wait to check it out. What I'm going to talk about next is Haiku the Dumpster Battle. Yep, I had to get an anime movie on here, man, because this movie it's great. It's literally great. And what I love about this Haiku the Dumpster Battle in particular, as opposed to some of the other anime films that we get, is they just understand how to advance a story in a movie. I don't know why we can't get it together in America and figure it out. Why isn't Stranger Things ending with a movie? Why didn't Game of Thrones end with a movie? Like these anime and animation studios are like, shoot, the next arc, the next part of the story, let's just make it a movie. Yeah, do that. You're gonna make money, and people are gonna have a good time in the theater and have such a different experience. And that's what Haiku, the Dumpster Battle is, man. It's just a really good. Haiku had been gone for like 2.5 years, 3 years. Heck yeah, people gonna show up to watch this thing. We were so excited to watch that film, and it delivered where it needed to. There's tension, there's character growth, it's gonna make you feel fuzzy inside. You might cry. You're gonna laugh. Like it has all the feels within it, and it's such a fun theatrical experience. So I had to throw in Haiku the Dumpster Battle, man. And that being said, it's funny because like they're taking the last two parts of Attack on Titan and turning it into a movie. It's like, why didn't y'all do that the first time? Now
Really?
y'all,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
now they're circling back. Am I going to be there to watch it? Absolutely. But they should have did this the first time. Like, it's like, come on, man, y'all
Wow.
could have did that. But yeah.
Oh, that's funny. The double dipping is it's imminent. It's here. But yeah, it's interesting. I think yeah, and thinking about conclusions specifically to TV shows and hey, should we just make it a show still? Should we keep the format?
Mhm.
Should we transition into maybe doing something bigger, theatrical? It's definitely a case by case basis. I think it's tricky. It is tricky because certain shows you will get that audience to show up. And I think certain other shows maybe might overestimate their popularity. And then if they make that sort of move, they might not see the
Mhm.
type of money that they think they're gonna see at the box office. Um there's obviously a lot of research, a lot of stuff that goes behind, just figuring out what makes the most sense. But yeah, it is curious that in the streaming era, when we are seeing like the conclusions of like really big phenomenon type of shows, that's not being explored more. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be a thing as we continue to move into the next few years.
Yeah.
The next one I'll just quickly highlight. We talked about it and reviewed it earlier this summer. Again, another 2023 film, technically, because it premiered at a festival, but it finally made its debut in 2024. That's Richard Linklater's Hitman, starring Glenn Powell and
Yeah.
Adria Arjona. Just a fun, really fun movie that is surprising. It's sexy. It's romantic. It has comedy. It has just all the ingredients as just being a film that I think anybody can enjoy. And selfishly, I wish this would have had a theatrical release because I can imagine how this would have played amongst an audience of
Hmm.
people. But even as a streaming title for Netflix, because you have such a visionary director behind it, and you have a guy who I am totally, as I say multiple times, I'm totally bought in on Glenn Powell and just everything that he's doing. I mean, you have a really perfect formula for a star making performance and for an aging director who is now finding a new groove, especially with this type of film that he went after. And so, Hitman was just such a treat to watch, and again, like one of the more rewatchable films too that you can go back to, I think, over and over again, and just find something new to enjoy about it. And the chemistry between the two leads, incredible. The ending, didn't see it coming. All the stuff for Hitman just made me really, really happy at what the end product was.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot, man. It's funny. I've actually been like bringing it up more in conversation, and people are like, "I haven't watched it yet." I'm like, "How have you not watched this movie? Go watch it, everybody. Y'all be watching everything else on Netflix. Go watch it, man. It's really good. And Richard Linklater, man, it's just so good. It was funny. I actually just started the Before trilogy, so it's like funny to
Oh
see like
my
I
God.
know. I know. I know. It's so good.
Put
But
those
yeah, I'm
movies in a
just not.
museum. Those movies belong in a
Yeah,
museum somewhere for sure.
I believe it, man. But yeah, he's a cooker, man. He knows what he wants to do, and he always makes, I think, a really good product. Given his interest in the different things he wants to do in his films, but he's good at character chemistry, just like what he does in Hitman. I think is another just example of him being good at that. So yeah, hire whoever his intimacy coordinator is, hire them because they must be a beast. They're going crazy.
There's probably two
Uh,
intimacy coordinators left in Hollywood because we don't get any sex in anything anymore. So there's probably
you
very limited openings for that position. So whoever was behind that movie, I'm sure you're going to get hired quite a lot now.
Man, people might need to. Hey, that might be a call to some people to become some intimacy coordinators.
Maybe,
Like, hey, you
yeah,
need a job.
a booming job industry now open. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be nice.
yeah, go do that. But yeah, man, this list is still hard because I'm over here like, huh, should this be in the list? But yeah, I think I'm gonna put it here for reasons. The next movie I want to talk about is actually Civil War. By Alex Garland, man,
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah,
banger.
yeah.
It's a banger, and I had to think about it for a little bit. I actually seen it twice too. I was like, this movie it's just so good, and what it's talking about, what it's the conversation that it's having of how dangerous polarizing politics can be. And the movie comes out, and then we get hit with all the politicalness in real life, and you're just like, wow, this movie. It's just great, I think, to see Alex Garland, I think, have such connected commentary on what's happening in our real world, and how scary that can be. And of course, Civil War, it's a crazy, jarring, very violent movie. But to come, I think one of the scariest things in America is to come face to face with reality, man. That's what Civil War is. It's a scary movie, dude. It's not labeled as a horror film, but Loki, I mean, it's a horror film, man. Civil War is a scary, scary movie. But yeah, I really like it. Yeah, and I think it has just so much to say without saying too much. Like, it does such a good job of like letting you come to your own conclusions in the best way. And so yeah, I really enjoy that film, man.
No, Civil War is great. It's so good. I closely considered this one too. It's right there in the conversation. Certainly, as we just alluded to with Alien Romulus, I think it's one of the most intense movies of the year. The sound design
Oof.
is just on a different level. If you didn't see it in a premium format, I hope you got some sort of surround sound or something at home if you watch it, because it is booming, it's loud, it's very frightening, and what they try to do here to create this really realistic dystopian society that is right there. It's like a couple of years away. It's not like 50 years in the future or 200 years in the future. It's like I can see that tomorrow. I can see that happening like right around the corner. I was wondering, like, was Trump going to reference this movie? Yeah, I seen that Civil War. That Alex Garland, really, really impressive director. Love what he
Well,
did there.
really?
I'm waiting on one of these candidates to talk about Civil War, man.
Hey,
Kamala
me
Harris, is
too.
she gonna bring it up? I don't know.
She should.
She
She's
should
bringing up coconut trees.
she should probably talk about something important very soon here. I know we're in the midst of the DNC this week. I think we're kind of waiting on bated breath to
Yeah.
see what she talks about. Like maybe some policy.
Mhm.
That'll be good.
Oh, she will.
Imagine that policy.
Look
But
at
yeah,
that.
Civil War is it's an incredible film. I really hope Alex Garland does not step away from movies like he talked about doing.
Please
I hope he
don't.
sticks. I hope he sticks with it. Just
She's too
just take a
good.
few years off. Go be with family.
Yeah.
Hopefully, just take some time off, do something else, and yeah, we need more movies from you. The next one I'll talk about is now my fourth pick. Just gonna get to it. Dune Part Two. I mean,
Yes, sir.
come on. Dune
Yes,
Part Two
sir.
is
Yeah.
it's 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 an astonishing achievement in science fiction filmmaking. It's really really special what Denis Villeneuve did, the fact that he was able to plus everything that we saw in Dune 1 and take it to just astronomical levels in terms of a filmmaker. I mean, he's operating on Chris Nolan territory,
Yep.
which most directors cannot do. There's like literally
Nope.
probably 5 directors on this planet who can do that. And this
Mhm.
movie proved that he's in that conversation and he's in that category, and the fact that it's fronted by 4 of this upcoming generation's most talented and most talked about actors, we're gonna look back on it as a special moment when we talk about
Yeah.
Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet and Florence Pugh, and of course the wonderful Austin Butler. They just
Oh man.
they ate up everything that they had in this film. My only concern now is Dune Messiah. I'm
Hmm.
very concerned about that just because of like where that story goes and the source material. It's not the strongest in this book, I guess, of Dune, in
Hmm.
this mythology of Dune. And if anybody wants to like really tap into it without reading the books, I would recommend the sci-fi series that they put out, the limited series. They did adapt Dune Messiah and Children of Dune together, because Dune Messiah is like relatively short. It's not one of the longer
Hmm.
books, especially not compared to the first book. And it's, I think he's going to have to change some stuff. I'll just say that. I think he's definitely
Oh,
going to
he
have to
will. Yeah,
change
he will. He
quite a
will.
bit because, again, it's just not the most intriguing thing. But that's still years away. What he did with Dune Part Two, just astronomical stuff that he achieved with that film.
Yeah, you know this is the other thing on my list. People know how I feel about Doom, man. This movie is fantastic across the board. I mean, I just even thinking about the memes that came out of it, the Lisa Nagai memes. It's just like, y'all,
A
this
plus,
thing is A plus. Like this movie is really it. Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors, and he understood the assignment. And what's so interesting about Dune Messiah is like Frank Herbert. He had to make that book because people didn't understand what Dune was really supposed to be about. It's like, y'all, did y'all not get the message that literally Messiah kind of figures are kind of dangerous sometimes? Like, and so he was like, we got to make a whole new book. I'm like, dang, man, y'all need to pay attention. They should have took that book to class because it's like they didn't talk about it. So he had to make a whole new book about what was supposed to happen or what was supposed to be about. I think that's so interesting. But yeah, absolutely love this movie. Like you said, this Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya. Oh man, and then outside of that 4, those 4 actors and actresses, Javier Bardem and Rebecca Ferguson, and it's like Batista, Christopher Walken. It's just like this movie is stacked across the board. It looks good, it feels good, the action's fire, it's acted well. It's just one of those. It's one of those you had to be there kind of moments. Like, and a lot of people, it's hard not to compare it to a Star Wars moment because that's what it is. In like 20 years, we're gonna be like, man, y'all remember Dune Part 2? People are gonna be like, oh my god, I wasn't there for that. I wish I was. That's how I felt when I first learned about Star Wars, I was like, damn, I wish I was alive when Star Wars came out. And I feel like people are going to feel like that when they realize how big an event Doom Part 2 was. At least I hope they're made to feel like that, man. But yeah, great event, amazing movie, easily one of my favorites of the year. To be honest, it's going to be hard to kick this. I know we're not ranking, but it's going to be hard to kick this movie on my first spot because I think this movie's a shit. So yeah, I love it a lot, and it's definitely my last pick on my list.
For sure. I got one more that I'll quickly talk about. And I don't want to get into it too much because I do want to have a proper conversation about the film. But Sing Sing is it's one of the most important movies that I've seen this year. This is the last spot that I'm going to give on my list in being one of the best so far. Quick premise: this movie is based on a real rehabilitation program from the Sing Sing maximum security prison. This is an arts program that actually exists at the Sing Sing maximum security prison. This stars Coleman Domingo taking on this film, and it's really special. It's a really special movie. I know a lot of people haven't seen it. It's still in somewhat limited release. I think in just LA and New York, it might expand a little bit more over the next few months. And it is distributed by A24. And historically and typically, the Oscars don't really mess with A24 all that much, with a few certain exceptions. Everything Everywhere All at Once, of course, and The Whale. There have been exceptions for sure, but I think that this is going to be in the award season conversation at the front of the pack. I would say I think that this is going to be big when it comes time for nominations to drop, when we start talking about early predictions for Oscars, Golden Globes, all of that stuff. I think it's going to be there because Coleman Domingo, best work I've seen him do so far. But even more importantly, Clarence Divine I. Macklin, who's the co-star in this movie, who is playing a somewhat fictionalized version of himself, was actually incarcerated at Sing Sing. A revelation. Just a revelation. Just incredible stuff that he did here. Just the vulnerability and it's just so many levels. Again, I don't want to get too deep into it, but this is a great film that it's at the top of the list for the best of the year so far. I mean, if any movie I'm gonna look back on when I really get to the end of the year and we do have to start doing the ranking exercises, like this is in that conversation hovering around the top 3, really the top 2. We'll see what else comes out for the year, but this is it's an exceptional film that I think everybody hopefully gets a chance to see whenever they do have access to it, since it'll be out over the next few weeks and few months here. But really special film overall.
Yeah, I cannot wait to watch it. I've been waiting to watch this movie for a very long time. Anything with Coleman Domingo in there, I'm like, sign me up. I will be there. I'm gonna try to check it out this week. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. Really similar to what you just said, man. Like they say, it's really like that. It's that important. It's that vulnerable. It's that important. I guess conversation kind of being had around the film. And so yeah, I can't wait to watch it and see how I feel too. But I can't imagine it's anything too different, man.
Any honorable mentions? Anything we haven't placed in our top 5 that you want to quickly highlight? Actually, let's recount our top 5 really quickly before we get into like honorable mentions. My so far 5 best films of 2024. Again, in no order, no ranking order. Are Hitman, Evil Does Not Exist, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, Doom Part 2, and Sing Sing. What are your top 5 so far of the year?
I had Furiosa, Civil War, Haiku, Dune 2, and missing one.
Late Night with the Devil. That was your
Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
Those are my 5.
Okay. All right. Now, honorable mentions. What else do you want to point out? What were some of the other bangers that didn't make the top 5, but still great movies of the year so far?
Love Lies Bleeding, Long Legs. But Long Legs legit almost made the 5th spot. If to be honest, if Late Night with the Devil wasn't such a different movie, Long Legs probably would have made it. But I was like, let's let Late Night with the Devil in there. So Long Legs, Late Night with the Devil, and there was one other one. Oh, honestly, Alien Romulus was like another one. I was like, dang, I really like this movie. But I just need more time to sit on that movie as well. Oh, and then last but not least, Inside Out 2 also almost made my list. A really good movie.
Not Divorce in the Black? No love for Divorce in the Black in this movie?
Bruh, oh my God. There's a reason we did not talk about that movie. I can't.
Not even Mia Culpa? We're not going to talk about that one either?
I can't. Nope. I can't. I can't. I can't.
I
It'll give
think
me an aneurysm, bro. I
I think
can't.
I think we have to raise an eyebrow that Tyler Perry made 2 movies within 5 months of each other. Let's maybe start there and talk about that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that you kind of hit upon the majority of what I would have mentioned, Inside Out 2 in that conversation. I've been thinking a lot, and I know I felt one way about it when we saw it. I've been thinking a lot about Kinds of Kindness. It's been on my mind quite a
Hmm.
bit since we saw it. I've only seen it once, so I need to revisit it.
Hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
been on my mind, and I'm like, there's something going on here. There's something going on. When a movie just stays with me like that, I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
unpack this and address it. So I need to see it again before I make anything definitive. But I do just want to throw that out there and say that. I'll also point out Didi, which I just got a chance to see as well. Taiwanese coming of age movie. I also drafted
Hmm.
this film, had very high hopes for it. Great movie, great coming of age story.
I figured.
Fits right into the canon of really seminal A24 coming of age movies. They just know how to pick these when you're talking about eighth
Hmm.
grade or mid 90s. This feels a lot like mid 90s, but it's
Hmm.
from the Taiwanese sort of American experience. I definitely wanted to point that one out. Hopefully, get to talk about it properly at some point in the future. Um, and I think that covers it. I think yeah, we kind of touched upon everything else outside of like the ones that you mentioned. So yeah, we'll see how the next few months go. Definitely have eager anticipation about what the fall is going to look like. And as I
Hmm.
mentioned at the top, we'll do somewhat of a fall preview to kind of talk about what we are looking forward to coming out over the next few months as we round out the summer, and of course recap and really talk in depth about the summer movie results and then the box office stuff that we drafted at the top of the summer. But folks, if you have any thoughts on any of these films, if you have thoughts on our top 5 so far of 2024, definitely hit us up and let us know what you think.